Welcome to the Propeller Club of Northern California. I'm Stas Margaronis. It is Tuesday, April 23rd, and we have a very interesting presentation from the cadets at the California State University Maritime Academy. And I'm going to be introducing the cadet speakers in a moment. I want to welcome you all here, and I see that we have the executive director of the Propeller Club International, Admiral Joel Whitehead, who has joined us, and Anouk Scott from our Propeller Club sister club in Nantes, France. I'm going to introduce everybody in just a second. Welcome to all of you. And thank you for your participation. Let me start by introducing my close comrade in arms who makes sure that all of our webinars run smoothly and without fault, Todd Crawshaw. Good morning.
Morning. Yeah, our company is Crawshaw Design. We do IT support and website design and development, among many other things. So
okay, thank you very much, Todd. And Ryan Edmeister, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Stas. Hello, everyone. My name is Cadet Second Class Ryan Edmeister. I'm the president of the student port of the Propeller Club here at Cal Maritime. And joining me today are panelists. We have Cadet Fourth Class Kate Anderson, Cadet Second Class and Midshipman Jack Williams, Brandon Jose, an alumni of our school who works in cybersecurity, along with Andrew Bowling, who does tech and operations for our ship simulator.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to actually ask everybody to introduce themselves and say 2 words. Andrew, you're on my screen to my right. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. I am Andrew Bowling. I am both the lead of audiovisual classroom support and the lead and really the only simulation support on campus.
Very good. Thank you very much. Brandon Jose, it's good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, Stas. After all these years, you still invite me. I'm glad. Hi, my name is Brandon, and I work in cybersecurity, and I was an alumni for Cal Maritime, and I'm really happy to be here. I'm super proud of the students and to share with you all the opportunities. Thank you.
Very good. I see Mike Chapman someplace here. Mike, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning. Members of the Women's Propeller Club, Port of the Golden Gate, and also member of this wonderful organization.
Thank you very much, Mike. And we are we have a number of distinguished people here today. Joel Whitehead, Executive Vice President, Propeller Club International. Joel, would you introduce yourself? All right, well, maybe not. Andrew Wong. Andrew, good morning. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Andy Wong with One High, Director of Trans-Pacific Exports and Government Affairs. Happy to be here. And I see Ryan over there smiling because he was my intern last summer over at the Port of Oakland. So happy to be here. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Andrew. And Anouk Scott. Anouk, good morning. Can you hear us, Ms. Scott? Well, we'll come back to her.
Hey, Stas, this is Joel.
Good morning, Admiral.
I'm sorry. I'm calling on my phone, and I could not find the the unmute button. So thanks very much for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to listening to the speakers this morning. It should be a great presentation.
And Joel, the Propeller Club just had a career webinar very recently, right?
Yes, we've been doing these monthly, usually on the 3rd Friday of each month, and we've had some great young speakers coming in talking about different aspects of the maritime industry. We had one presentation, and these were all done by former student port members, so they've been involved with the Propeller Club since college. We had a presentation on marine insurance. We had another one on operations. We had one recently with a member from Kaiser University who had been in their club and who was presenting on behalf of Tote Marine. And we're looking to do some more, at least one more this year before school breaks out. And then we'll restart again in September with a whole new series. We also had one on Admiralty Law, which was a very interesting presentation too.
And it will be an even more interesting subject as the lawyers go at it over the Francis Scott Key Bridge accident, correct?
We are right now we're trying to organize one in May that would be specifically about the accident. And we're trying to get a spokesperson from the Port of Baltimore, our Propeller Club president in Baltimore, Coast Guard representative, and somebody from the NTSB, and maybe state as well. But we're trying to put that together. But as you can imagine, people are a little wary of obligating, in advance to be a presenter at something like this because it's such a hectic situation there.
Okay. Joel, thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Kate Anderson.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Kate Anderson, and I'm a freshman, a part of the new ISS International Strategy and Security major.
Thank you very much. Benita Margaronis.
Yes, sir.
Good. Well, introduce yourself.
I'm Benita Margaronis, and I am Stas Margaronis' daughter.
And what do you do for the Propeller Club?
I am the administrative coordinator.
Okay. And what does that entail?
It entails contacting people, setting things up, database collection, membership collection, and helping set up these conferences that we all enjoy and love.
Thank you. Now, Brandon Jose is here, and he wants to talk to you about your possible career in cybersecurity.
I'm sure he does.
So I want you to follow up with him, okay?
Listen, Benita, it's just really nice to see you, okay? Thank you for coming in today.
Okay, Benita, you're off the hook temporarily. Dennis Dysinger. Good morning, Dennis.
Hi, Stas. Dennis Dysinger, independent maritime and logistics consultant, class 85, 2D. And thanks for setting this up. Would also like you to send out more information on what Joel was saying about those webinar presentations.
Yes.
I think that the members would appreciate some of that, especially the whatever you could pull off for getting information on about the bridge disaster back in Baltimore. Thank you.
I think that Joel is in the process of putting that together. Joel, if you firm up a date on that, I'm sure you'll forward that. We'd be very interested in attending that. Emily Sinclair. Good morning, Emily.
Hi, good morning. Emily Sinclair. I'm in corporate communications and community relations at the Pacer Group and Pacer Hawaii, and I'm really looking forward to hearing today's speakers.
Very good. Thank you very much. Jack Williams.
Hi there. I'm currently driving back to campus right now. I can't have a camera on, unfortunately. However, I'm a midshipman in the Strategic Sealift program on campus, as well as it's midshipman's at Cadet second class on campus. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Jack. I see Captain Botu. Good morning. You're on.
Good morning. Morning, Stas. How are you?
Good. Would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a Corp Maritime alum, 1D, 1994. I'm the senior surveyor for National Cargo Bureau here at San Francisco. So I'm looking for this meeting and hopefully join more meetings. I'll be at the school on this Thursday for the luncheon.
Oh, well, this luncheon looks like it's turning out to be quite an event. Somebody's got to tell me who's on first after all of that. Thank you very much, Captain. I see Kevin Policarpo. Kevin, good morning.
Morning, Mr. Stoss. How are you?
You want to introduce yourself, Kevin?
Okay, my name is Kevin Policarpo. I work as Mr. Stoss's research assistant for multiple topics, from maritime to ship development to some politics related to maritime situations, and well, whatever really comes to mind from him.
Very good, Kevin. Thank you very much. Marianne Richards. Good morning, Marianne.
Oh, hello, everyone. Let me get my camera going here. I can't say good morning because it's good afternoon here. I'm tuning in from the East Coast, Massachusetts Maritime Academy Career Services, and thank you for inviting me. I'm just interested in hearing the speakers today, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Marianne. Veronica Berry.
Hello, everybody. I'm here from the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, so good afternoon from New York. I am the new advisor for USMMA's Student Propeller Club. I am the former director of career services at USMMA, but I am now the public affairs officer, and we're happy to support any students, no matter what school they're from, and collaborate with you. So thanks for having me.
Well, Veronica, we're very pleased that you and Marianne could make it from your East Coast locations. You from Kings Point, I assume. Mm-hmm. And so I used to live on Lighthouse Road.
Oh, wow.
So I was just down the street from you guys. And but I was not alive when it was the Chrysler Mansion, which of course was before all of our times.
Mm-hmm. That's where I am right now. Ignore our conference room.
Well, thank you very much. And if you have any information that you would like to share with us about events that you're doing, please, you've got my email address. Please let me have that. And Marianne, you as well. We would appreciate it. And anything that would be along the lines of career and education would be great. And
absolutely.
Thank you. And let me just, Brandon, you wanted to share something on the chat?
Oh, I just wanted to drop in my LinkedIn on the chat. Is that okay?
Absolutely. I see Matthew Lafiandra. Matthew, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Matt Lafiandra. I'm the CEO of Ocean Solutions. We are a commodity broker specializing in forward freight agreements and physical shipping. Offices, well, my office here on the West Coast, but then also offices in Westbury, New York, Stamford, Connecticut, and Florida. Marianne and Veronica, very nice to meet you both. We're the proud employers of 2 different Kings Pointers and 2 different CMA grads, and have had good success with both institutions. So please feel free to put me on your lists of interested employers for your graduates.
Thank you, Matthew. You didn't mention that you're located in Santa Rosa, California.
The most important fact, I am a neighbor to Stas Margaronis.
Well, Matthew, thank you very much. And thank you for your continued support of the club, and Dennis, you as well, and Emily. You guys are very, very good supporters of ours, and I appreciate that. Neil Steru, did I pronounce your name right?
Yes, Sterid. It rhymes with Jared.
Okay. Neil, would you introduce yourself?
My pleasure. Yeah, I'm here from California Maritime Academy. I'm here to speak a little bit later. In this portion, we just share a little bit about ourselves, or?
Just say yes. Give us a few sentences of who you are and what you're doing.
Sure. I'm a reservist in the Navy Corps of Engineers, and I also serve on the board of Crisis Support Services for Alameda County, and I am on the board of Mercy and Grace Ministries, which tends to the spiritual needs of prisoners. And we serve 2 to 6 prisons every weekend.
Well, that is really quite a resume, and you are to be congratulated. Thank you very much, Neil. Todd, have I got everybody?
Not sure. Hard to keep track of everybody.
Is there anybody who has not introduced themselves? Going once, going twice. Okay. Before we begin with our program, I want to say just a few words about this particular program. The California Maritime Academy is a vital education institution for the maritime industry in California and for the Western United States. It's been a training ground and jumping off point for people who've gone to work for the Military Sealift Command, the U.S. Navy, U.S. Coast Guard, our U.S. ocean flag carriers, the tug and barge industry, for pilots, marine terminal managers, and as you heard from Brandon, cybersecurity specialists, logistics managers, and soon the offshore wind industry. We at the Propeller Club are dedicated to continuing the good work of the California State University Maritime Academy, as well as supporting our maritime academies and schools across the country. And you've heard that we have participation today from Maine and from the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy at Kings Point. With that in mind, we welcome Ryan Edmeister, president of the California Maritime Academy Propeller Club, who has put together a panel to discuss the work that CMA cadets are doing today and the career possibilities that a CMA education offers for high school graduates seeking a future that our maritime industry can provide. Ryan, welcome, and you have the floor.
Awesome. Thanks again, Stas, for moderating, and thank you all for coming today. This is a really crucial subject, not just for Cal Maritime, but for the entire industry as a whole. And it seems that with many of you being alumni or otherwise hiring, employing, or working alongside Cal Maritime graduates, this is a critical issue for our industry. So that being said, a brief summary of what Cal Maritime is going through right now. Our academy is struggling, and I realize that many of the academies, particularly the state schools, are in a similar boat just due to crisis in higher ed, along with the issues within our own maritime industry here. But Cal Maritime especially is in the midst of severe budget decline, enrollment issues, and many cultural issues that are propagating here across our campus. With our new president, Admiral Dumont, there have been many fantastic changes and new initiatives led here on campus to improve the state of affairs. And I'm very proud that our new incoming class of freshman cadets will be over 230, which is amazing. Since last year, we didn't even make 200. So there have been, great leaps in progress here. And that's the theme of today's panel. So despite the academy being in a bit of a downward turn, we still have many fantastic avenues for all facets of career development we do here in the maritime industry, be it going to sea, working shoreside, important terminal operations, logistics, or commissioning into the military. We have had many successes, and we still continue to do so. So a couple things we'll be covering today is the value of Cal Maritime's bridge simulator. We have Andrew Bowling here to discuss that, along with the ramifications of the recent simulation we did for the Francis Scott Key Baltimore Bridge Elision. Likewise, we're going to be doing a panel on evolving industry education with wind and offshore energy, and Neil Starrett will be covering that. Likewise, we'll be talking about maritime-focused cybersecurity, and one of our very own alumni, Brandon Jose, will be discussing that. And then Jack Williams, Midshipman with the Strategic Sealift Midshipman program, will be talking about the updates that the Navy has published along with the Maritime Administration and Department of Defense for the Strategic Sealift program here on campus. And then we'll be finishing up with a talk about the logistics case study competition that Cal Maritime just won at the University of North Florida. And then we're going to be talking about the changes here to our leadership program and the core of cadets as an opt-in program, and that's going to be done by Kate Anderson.
Very good. Thank you very much. Your first speaker, Ryan, is who?
We will be having Andrew Bowling first to discuss the Cal Maritime Bridge Simulator.
Very good. Andrew, welcome.
Hi. Yeah. So I'm the switch relief for one of our faculty that couldn't make it. So I do the technical support for the sim. I remember I got the question, do we have the Baltimore area? And in my couple of years, we hadn't ever used Baltimore, but I figured it was related to the Francis Scott Key Bridge incident. Luckily, we had it. So the way our simulator works is it's all licensed. So if we didn't have that area, we would have to contact Wartzilla and pay out for the license and upgrade our sim. But we're fortunate. We have a lot of ships and a lot of areas available. So we just had to create a scenario based on the ENC chart for the Baltimore area. We had to pick an equivalent vessel and put it in place for the vessel to hit the bridge. Any other necessary traffic we can put in there. We can adjust the time of day, like the azimuth of the sun, weather conditions. We can be pretty specific. So the faculty were left to develop an area, and technically we call it an exercise once we develop it fully out. And it's like role play at that point. So what we saw for USA Today, what we could do right now is we just load a scenario, we put the students in play, we have somebody take the role of the captain and the various officers, do the right radio calls to vessel traffic support. We have all the necessary facets to either create a facsimile through a little bit of smoke and magic or do it within the software itself. Like we have a faults panel. So we have a panel of nothing but all the faults available that we could trigger within the sim. Or you can do role play, like you can call vessel traffic and then the instructor above or an instructor in another room could say right back to you what vessel traffic would say. Other than that, I'm the technical side. So like Maritime is where I do not know as much, but I can say from having gone out on cruise and from having seen it here, there's a lot more available within our sim that we could use if we chose to do it. There's a lot of things that have happened on and offshore here that would be to our advantage to explore within the sim if we had time. And fortunately, we have 3 of them here. We have 1 on the ship. And we also have 1 that we can use for developing like specific scenarios if everything was tied up.
Andrew, real quick question. We'll hold most of our questions till after the panels, but when you're on the bridge and you replay the situation that occurred with the Francis Scott Key Bridge, what was the atmosphere like for the cadets who are working the simulator? Do they start to feel like this is a real thing?
I would say so. For sure, when they're in a class scenario, it can be a class session of like an hour or an hour and a half. And if you're trying to do a specific procedure, like you're trying to come into a harbor or come out of a harbor, like absolutely that has a tinge of realism because you're isolated in there. You are limited to the sim, and our sim is a 360-degree wraparound cylinder. So like top to bottom, you don't see the outside world. Your world is now the sim.
Very good. Thank you very much. Ryan, back to you.
Excellent. So thank you for that, Mr. Bowling. Very interesting, no doubt. And next up, we are going to be talking about wind energy and offshore wind. Unfortunately, the planned panelists couldn't make it at last minute due to an accident this morning, but that's all right. I can speak on it myself. So as we all know, here in the maritime industry, there's been a lot of talk and discussion about offshore wind. particularly here in California with the planned offshore wind energy sites for both Morro Bay and Humboldt. And we actually, here at the Propeller Club of Cal Maritime, were fortunate enough to go with Stas earlier this year to go up to Humboldt and actually see the planned site that Crowley has for offshore wind. And that was very interesting. The project's well underway in terms of planning and development, so very interesting to see. And likewise, here at Cal Maritime, we recognize the importance that offshore wind and renewable energy will have specifically in the maritime field. So we're part of the Collegiate Wind Energy Competition annually, and typically we do very well, with this year being no exception. As it stands, between May 6th and 9th, our offshore wind energy team is actually planned to go to Minneapolis to compete with the finalists for the national competition, which is amazing. And this is nothing new. Cal Maritime's always thrived when it comes to the offshore wind competition, but it's just fantastic to see, and another great program initiative that we're having here. And I'll answer any additional questions people have about the offshore wind program and the competitive team we have here after the panel.
So tell me just real briefly, what does the competition entail?
Great question. So it's a combination of a business and an engineering plan. So the team both needs to develop an offshore wind energy site from the engineering standpoint, designing the turbines, the renewable energy sources, the stability systems to manage an offshore wind platform. And likewise, they need to develop a business plan for how they manage the financial assets, land, labor, capital, projected revenue, earnings, resource allocation, all of that. So there's actually two separate teams within the team itself, one which handles the business side of things and another which does the actual technical development and the engineering.
Very good. So I interviewed Suzanne Plezia, who is the chief engineer at the Port of Long Beach. And the Port of Long Beach is proposing to have a second offshore wind terminal or port, the first one being at Humboldt. And one of their challenges is that they have to start from scratch. But they have a potential 400-acre site that they're looking to construct. The chief engineer, Susan Plezia, told me that her projection is that for Northern California, Humboldt, and Central California, Morro Bay, there may need to be as many as 500 floating wind turbines built to generate the projected wind capacity that those leases that went out, I guess, a year and a half ago were designed for. And I think that the total bid on that was $757 million. So 500 wind turbines is going to need an awful lot of infrastructure and support. And Ryan, thank you very much for that. And we will open for questions at the end, as I mentioned. Your next speaker.
Yeah, so next up, we're going to be having Brandon Jose talk about maritime-focused cybersecurity. Brandon, the floor is yours.
All right, here we go, Mr. Stas. I can't tell you how excited I was when I read that email. I was at Coachella at the time, and I was just so happy to be here. I actually was so excited I drove 8 hours to go to San Francisco just to meet the students, get to talk to the faculty, professors. I got to meet Andrew, and I'm very proud to have met someone like, for instance, Kate, who's the freshman and I think there's a lot of potential, amidst all the chaos, there's a lot of potential out there, and I'm willing to share this with you. So for everyone, today we'll be diving into the electrifying world of cybersecurity, and especially of those eyeing on the future of this dynamic field. Did you know that the transforming AI is changing the way we do cybersecurity? I mean, for instance, in the American Journal of Transportation, right? This was an article that Stas shared on LinkedIn, and I just had to read it. AI-powered solutions are blazing new trails in defending against cyber attacks, opening up thrilling opportunities for tech-savvy students such as yourselves. I would say that a lot of ports are affected by cyber attacks every day. Trillions of dollars are being lost, and we need to be able to defend ourselves even better. So as we gear up to explore the reasons why cybersecurity is the hottest career choice in our digital age, I wanted to talk about 3 main points. And this means a lot to me because, and a lot to my journey, and I'll go on to about that. So the first one is COVID-19. I would say COVID-19 has accelerated a shift on how people learn. People are starting to learn remotely. I understand that at Cal Maritime, the only students during COVID who showed up to class at school were probably engineers. The rest of us were like international business, staying at home, running through PowerPoints. Now, as students increasingly rely on digital platforms for their education, the need for skilled individuals to safeguard sensitive data and protect against cyber threats has never been greater. And for those of you who are intrigued by the ever-evolving landscape of technology and security, cybersecurity offers a rewarding and challenging career path. And I can tell you, after I graduated from Cal Maritime, it was hard for me to find a job. I would say I was doing marketing for a while. I got really involved, but when COVID-19 hit, it really struck out the hotel industry. So I felt like I had to put my head down, do some homework, and luckily I went from studying cybersecurity in shed to living in a penthouse the next year. So I can tell you, like, it's very lucrative. Now, the second point is opportunities in cybersecurity, right? And I can tell you when I was in Hawaii last year that there are so much opportunities out there. And it's exciting because a lot of the students usually undergo an international experience. And I was talking to some people who are like, I'm going to be studying in Sweden. I'm going to be in Ghana. That's amazing. I think it really opens up your eyes to seeing the world and opening up your mind. And how much more when you start to understand this. The Department of Defense is one of the biggest employers in the world, and they're always seeking cybersecurity experts to defend critical infrastructure. Let's talk about Ukraine and Russia, for instance, right? Before they go invade, they're probably shutting down like all the electrical, all the water before they do that. Very strategic. It's a common practice nowadays. And as technology is much more involved, it gets scarier because, especially with the introduction of AI. Now, let's go back to the opportunities here, okay? Imagine being at the forefront of innovation, developing cutting-edge solutions to combat cyber threats and protect our country's most vital assets. Joining the Department of Defense isn't just a job, it's a chance to make a meaningful impact and contribute to a safer and more secure future. Now listen, like my family has graduated from Cal Maritime and we've busted out the most respected commanders in the industry. So if you're looking to go through the officer program, let's get connected. Or if you're looking to, let's say, just be in reserve, I got contacts as well. And my last point. Now, this is for the people here in this meeting who are in the industry, in the maritime industry, looking for a way to get connected with the students and create opportunities for them. And I think that's very important with the Propeller Club. With the impact of cybersecurity, it extends beyond just government agencies, right? I was just talking about how it affects electrical and our infrastructure. And it also does involve our maritime industry as well. So once we recognize that, let's find ways to involve the students. I got to meet Christopher Chago, and he's been teaching there for about 3 years now. As you can tell, it's very new. Like people are starting to understand that cybersecurity is a hot topic, and they're doing really successful. They're a competition team, got to the national semifinals at the Atlantic Consoles, and it's funny because they're just talking about policies, and not to take away from them, but you can see that it goes beyond just technical. There are other ways to get involved in cybersecurity that doesn't involve you just cracking away at the keyboard. Now, let's fuse this together. There's people here in the Maritime organization. We have a lot of students who are just barely scratching the surface, but it's creating a lot of curiosity. If you can kind of bring that together, I'm sure we can make things work. And Mr. Stoss, you've always been good at that. I've always taken notes from you, and it's helped me out personally because I think the greatest resource is people, and I've definitely learned that from you. And so if anyone's looking to get connected, please reach out to me. And lastly, I just want to say, and I kind of want to admit this as well. I don't actually have a degree at Cal Maritime. I was able to walk. They let me walk, but at the end of it, they gave me a blank piece, and I didn't get my degree. But to be honest, I'm not mad, because I wouldn't be here where I am today if that didn't happen. And I understand that there's a decline in students who are participating, but I think Cal Maritime is a very special place to get connected with people. And if you do want to be a part of cybersecurity, it's barely scratching, so we can build it from the ground up. And I'll be very curious to make that happen and get involved with the students, which is why I'm declaring that I'll be applying for Cal Maritime in the next semester. So thank you.
Brandon, if you were giving a short list of skills or requirements for somebody who wants to get into the industry, what are the sort of what courses should they be taking? What are some of the things that they should be looking at if they want to get into the industry?
Great question. Now, it's funny because this kind of relates to a student asking me, what are the skills needed? How much time do I have to do this to get involved in the cybersecurity industry? I would say if you get the right certifications and you get the right connections, those two things, you can spring roll yourself into a career in cybersecurity. Listen, there's a lot of people out there who are willing to teach others, because the demand for cybersecurity is so high that there's just not enough people. And as long as you're a good person and you're willing to you have a willingness to learn, they'll teach you how to do these things. And it's funny because a lot of these things are automated, and I could take anyone across the street to do what I do. It's just unfair because I have security clearance and they don't. So back to my topic, if we create a program for students to get the right certifications, just study that. You can do that while you're doing international business. It's fine. It only takes a few, like maybe 1 or 2 months to get it. But then you cater it to a program where the maritime industry can help get them the experience that they need, hands-on projects. I think that'll make them a good candidate.
Okay. And one other quick follow-up. You mentioned AI. Could you just give us a thumbnail? What has changed with AI? What is the threat now as a result of AI?
Wow. There's many ways to kind of try to put things on paper and try to think out of your own mind. But how much more if you have something like artificial intelligence try to help you out and mind as a tool to help you create a product. I'll give you an example. I'm in a workplace. Me and my coworker, we're trying to figure out how to automate our work environment. And there's always this time where we have to ask questions. And believe it or not, we use AI to help defense improve our tools. So rather than being scared about AI and like Terminators, just use it as a tool to help improve your environment. So
okay. Very good. Thank you. Ryan, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon, and thank you, Stas. Next up is going to be Midshipman Jack Williams, who's going to talk about the Maritime Administration's changes to the Strategic Sealift Midshipman program. Jack, the floor is yours.
Hi there, guys. This is Midshipman Jacob Williams. I'm a midshipman, Cal Maritime Academy. The changes Ryan's referring to recently refer to how historically they've given out for us for our contracts a 4-year contract where you get $32,000 paid out over the course of these 4 years. However, recently, in order to incentivize more cadets to join in the program, they've doubled down now at $64,000 without adjusting the amount service requirement in it.
Jack,
So,
Jack, could you elaborate a little bit on some of the qualifications you need to apply for the Military Sealift Command?
I can talk about military SEALIFT Command. Sure. Are you talking about military SEALIFT Command or about SSMP on campus?
Well, I think we were talking a little bit about both, but can you talk to us a little bit about the Sealift Command?
Yeah. So military SEALIFT Command, that's a combatant command of the United States Navy. Essentially, they're the ones in charge of forward resupply of all Navy warships. They are, since they have a large fleet of guerrilla tankers, and they're the largest employer of American merchant mariners in the country. I actually sailed with them last summer on the USNS Canoe. They're a very big organization, though, very good organization. Yeah.
And how did you get there?
Oh, they are constantly recruiting any licensed major. We have career fairs twice a year. They're always there, and they'll take anybody who would like to come sail with them. There's a constant need for bodies at MSC.
Okay. Are there any specific lessons that you learned from your voyage on the MSC ship?
Yeah, definitely. Mainly it's got to put in work. It's a lot of times working 20-hour days, because when we refueled a full carrier strike group in one day, now it's like a 20-hour day you're working, and it's got to have a good work ethic about it. You want to not complain too much about anything. That's all.
Okay.
Daz, can I jump in here?
Yes, please.
Yeah, hi, Dennis Dice here, Class 85. I tell all the cadets who have a license that don't have a job, but are kind of wondering if going to sea is what they want to do. MSC is a great opportunity for several reasons. One, you're going to know if you like going to sea. Two, you're going to have one of the hardest jobs going to sea, deck or engine. Three, you're going to be 10 months gone, but you're going to come back with an upgrade to your license. So if you'd like going to sea, you're going to come back with experience that other people that maybe just sailing out of the hall, did a couple trips with, those, let's just say, regular ocean going ships, they may only have 6 months under their belts here and there. Four, you're going to come back with a pocket full of money because you won't, be able to spend it when you're out there bopping around. And the other thing is I'm going to say that a really good friend of mine, he, I don't know if you know, Joe Dunbar, his father was an engineer ahead of me, Class 84, but Joe Dunbar came out with a global studies, non-licensed degree, and is now a supply officer on the TAKE ammo ships. So he's doing very well without a license. So MSC is a good career for. First of all, I want to say, if you work at getting a license, go use it at least for one trip to see, because you earned it. Second thing is you don't have to have a license to get a career. So back in my day, I'm just going to say this, Stas, MSC was the last resort because this is pre-internet. You were gone for 10 months to a year, sitting in Diego Garcia. You either became really buff and learned how to windsurf, or we're an alcoholic. I'll just say that out loud. But that was the 80s. Now it's the modern day, and I think it's a good career opportunity. In my ship repair business, met a lot of MSC mariners, and they're doing just fine.
So, Dennis, I went to sea. The first time I went to sea, I was 15 because my father had a dim view of children staying home for the summer. And my memory is that we were scraping rust off the deck. And it was a long ways from the stern to the bow. And I said to the bosun, I said, well, what happens when we finish? What do we do next? And he said, you go back and start all over again. And it was, I'll tell you, I scraping Bill's character. It doesn't seem that way, but it's you do learn a lot at sea. And when I went to sea, it was, I'm afraid to admit, even earlier than you, and there was nothing that we had, except the one good thing was is we usually had about a week in port, and that did pose a problem in terms of cash flow, because people who spent a week in port, and I can see a small smile on your face, Dennis, can spend a lot of money if they're not careful. But I was reading all of the time, and I was studying, and I didn't do what those other guys did, and I was just gearing up to do more rust cleaning. But thank you for your insights. Brand, right, yes, go ahead.
As the MARAD representative here, I just want to say that was a really good summary of the student incentive program, which is offered at all the state schools. The requirements are similar to being a midshipman at the Merchant Marine Academy, but of course the obligation, as I think Midshipman Williams explained, is shorter. Military Sealift Command came up recently, and they are getting pressure from the rest of the industry to have more of a work-life balance. So you're not getting shanghaied for 8 months anymore. They are authorized to hire 700 licensed officers right now, and that means shorter rotations for everybody. Just like the rest of the industry, deep sea, it was unheard of back in the day to have a third mate or third assistant working 60-day rotations. You had to be chief mate or master to work those rotations. So as commercial vessels are offering these really short rotations, Military Sealift Command is doing their best to do the same. In order to do that, they're going to have to hire more people to relieve the people they have already. But that was a great presentation. So thanks.
Well, I appreciate that you providing us with some context there, Veronica. Ryan, back to you.
Outstanding. Okay. Next up, we're going to have Neil talk about Cal Maritime's recent success at the logistics case study competition down in North Florida. Neil, the floor is yours.
Thank you. First and foremost, I would like to thank my highly capable teammates, Amanda Carvalho and Israel Monroy Hernandez, whose dedication and hard work made it possible for us to win. So we were up against larger schools with bigger budgets, and many of their students majored in supply chain management. So we had our work cut out for us in the competition. We were up against some very knowledgeable people. And it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. And so fortunately for us, the timing worked out very well. Cal Maritime, I believe this semester, just began teaching a course called Logistics Case Study and Analysis. And all three of us who competed were in that class. The first portion, we had 5 hours to prepare a 10-minute presentation, and we were able to look up whatever we didn't know and in order to prepare. But the second round was a lightning round, and that's where we had to think fast and on the spot and be able to answer intelligently. And what we did slightly differently from what the other teams did was all three of us answered all of the questions, and we went back and forth, adding on to one another's answers. And what the other groups did was they, one person answered one question. And so we were able, by doing it this way, to go a little bit more in depth, because my teammates were able to kick in and add the things that I was saying that I hadn't thought of. And that, I think that played a big part in it. And then also the morning of the competition, after the first round had ended and we were told that we were going on to the second round, the professor, Dr. Bakar, who provided us leadership, he and I were speaking out in the hallway about what we thought they might ask in the second round. And we had prepared an answer for what we thought they might ask. And then they ended up asking that exact question. And so we were ready on the spot to answer that. It was essentially a question about current events and trends that are affecting the industry. And so a big part behind why we won was that our professor, Dr. Bakar, set up a Tiger team of serious students. Israel, who I mentioned earlier, was our group mathematician, and he did math for 5 hours long. So really dedicated. When he was done after that, like he could do no more. All of us were. And then Amanda had also competed previously and led us in proper etiquette and how we should strategize and go about it, competing. And then my contribution was the day after Russia invaded Ukraine, I got a phone call and was told that I was being deployed to the Middle East. And so on that leave of absence, I spent the entire deployment reading books like Supply Chain Management for Dummies, Global Logistics for Dummies, and multiple other books on the matter, and then probably thousands of YouTube videos. And Amanda always likes to make fun of me for how much I use YouTube to get through college. And then essentially, one of the big things that I learned from doing the trip is what goes into making logistics decisions, and gained like a deeper appreciation for the complexity of making these types of calls. What we were doing was essentially routing 3 different products from Shanghai, China, and trying to determine the route, and then considering the value of the goods, the weight, and everything else. And so it was very, very challenging, and we did our best and we won.
Neil, has AI shown up at all on your radar screen in doing this work? And could you just elaborate in what context?
100%. So that was one of the questions that they asked us on the stage, was how do you view AI as impacting this? And the way that we answered was that we viewed AI as potentially like the 4th industrial revolution. And so I'm in the business program here at Cal Maritime. I might be tempted to think, oh, my job is managing people. I don't need to really concern myself too much with that type of stuff. But if I'm competing against other managers who are familiar with those tools, and let's say they're able to get twice as much productivity as me, when it comes time to firing, promoting, giving raises, if there's layoffs, even though my specialty is in managing people, I think that everyone needs to have some baseline knowledge moving forward on how this types of stuff works, because we're going to see some changes. I'm not concerned about layoffs so much, because if we look at the data, just doesn't show it, in my opinion. We have the greatest amount of technology we've ever had in human society, and at the same time, record low unemployment for years. So the data doesn't show that, oh, AI is going to take everyone's jobs. No. The data does show that the nature of work is highly probable to change. That I believe 100%. And then, so yeah, it doesn't really concern me too much in terms of like massive layoffs, because while AI began to be developed in the 1960s, it's been around for a long time. What happened was Microsoft, in combination with ChatGPT, invested billions to make a breakthrough, and they said something to the effect of, we want to make Google dance. And so they made through huge investment, made a significant breakthrough in the large language model area. And then Google had to like change their whole business strategy, divert tons of things away from certain projects like virtual reality, extended reality, and put those resources towards developing AI. And so now there's kind of like an AI arms race going on among major firms. So I'm trying to do myself a favor, and I would recommend this book to those of you who enjoy reading, or it's even available as an audiobook, Harvard Business Review Guide to AI Basics. So I'm sort of taking my free time as I'm driving, maybe have an audiobook on, listening to AI, reading the news, watching YouTube videos. As I've discussed, I like YouTube a lot. So and staying up to date on this, because if I use those tools in my job and I'm competing, well, you don't want to be too competitive, because like that kind of might damage teamwork dynamic. But the company that I'm working for, competing against other companies, I'm going to want to be on top of the changes that are taking place in that realm, so I could use the most cutting edge tools in ways that aren't going to cause embarrassment for the firm that I work, because sometimes the tools can produce things that are nonsense, and that you really need a human to work with it and to still use human judgment and wisdom when you're using these types of tools. So using it in a way that inside and can monitor rather than having it forward facing, seeing how the sausage is made.
Very good. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Ryan, back to you.
Outstanding. Thank you again, Neil. Always great to hear about Cal Maritime's successes. Next up, we're going to have Kate Anderson talk about the changes to the regimental here, the Corps of Cadets at Cal Maritime, along with the industry ramifications for that. So, Kate, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. So I'm just going to talk about some general campus things. My perspective might be slimmer compared to Ryan, Neil, and some of the other cadets have been here for a while because I am only just a freshman. But I guess the system that we have now that's going to be changing is all I know. So I guess I can definitely speak on that. One thing that Stas in particular asked me to speak on was about female representation on campus. So I applied at the time when the LA Times article came out about the campus and some of the issues that we were having at the time. Since then, in my time and experience, I haven't faced any of those problems. And to my knowledge, we haven't had any major incidents on campus this year as a whole. I'm proud to be a female at Cal Maritime and to be entering the maritime industry as a woman. Furthermore, with uniforms too, on the very first day when they're issuing them during O Week, they said it doesn't matter really who you are because you're in the exact same outfit as the people next to you. And I just thought that was something that was incredibly powerful and important, especially as we're going through all these changes, where the Corps of Cadets might look a little bit different in the future. So one of the things that has been a really major topic on campus since Admiral Dumont, our president, sent out an email a few weeks ago declaring that non-licensed majors, so that being business, the global studies major, oceanography, and mechanical engineering, have the opportunity to opt in to the Corps of Cadets and is no longer mandatory. So formation, uniforms, demerit system, it's all going to look different. And I know Ryan's touched on this briefly, but it was overall just kind of a jarring thing to get in an email one Tuesday morning. And we've talked through the different networking events at the gala and at the monthly meeting with the NorCal Propeller Club, just about general thoughts about this. And it really overall has been pretty negative. We're talking about pretty much 100 years of history. People are very proud of Cal Maritime as alumni, of course, and especially of divisions. And with the new opt-in, opt-out program, that's something that could possibly change because the Maritime Policy and Management Company might no longer exist just based off of people who are opting in, numbers, all of that stuff. I've heard of possible changes to like augment the division system, which would be a pretty significant change since people are so diehard for their divisions, like the alumni that were here today, who of course mentioned theirs. So overall, it's just been some pretty massive changes over just the past month with no major structure of how it's going to look in the future. And then another thing I just wanted to quickly touch on was that of like the industry reputation. So since pretty much January, we've got a couple different things come up in which that industry is not too happy and too pleased with Cal Maritime cadets, particularly starting with an email that we got forwarded to us by our Corps commander at the time from an anonymous company, pretty much just stating that Cal Maritime cadets are no longer to the standard of sister maritime academies. And it was pretty alarming to receive across campus, as well as other smaller pieces of news during these like constantly changing times, doing things that seem so drastic, like the changes in the Corps of Cadets opt-in program. It's just going to be very interesting to see what Cal Maritime looks like in the fall.
Kate, thank you very much for that. Let me, you prompted a question here, which is this particular email. Since that email was received, what kind, has there been any discussion, or has the administration related anything to the cadets? Has anybody sat down and done an assessment about how this happened and what needs to change to make sure that that doesn't happen?
I can touch on that for a second, Stas, actually. So, yes, it was very big news, and it went all the way up to the office of the president. So beyond just the scope of cadet leadership here. And yeah, the general consensus among the alumni was that both in terms of our professional development, leadership, bearing, and as well as our actual technical skills, Cal Maritime is falling behind. Many of our alumni have had complaints, particularly in regards to our internships and commercial cruises. And so to remedy that trend line, the Corps of Cadets is an entire program with this change to the opt-in is being reevaluated as a whole, and the entire regimental structure is being changed over the summer. Some key points to touch on is just going back to the basics of uniform and grooming standards. There's been a significant lack of discipline and enforcement of those basic policies. So that's what we're hoping to remedy with the changes to the regimental program here.
Could I speak a little bit on the matter as well?
Go ahead, Neil.
So I have two thoughts on the matter as well. The students that are in Cal Maritime, many of them missed 2 years of school essentially due to the pandemic. So that has caused a huge change across the board in academia in our country. So it's important to keep that in mind as well. And then also that Aristotle complained about how things aren't as good as they were back in the old days. So there's always complaints about people, even looking back thousands of years ago, about people complaining about how things aren't like how they used to be. So there's also that dynamic as well, which is inherent.
So let me just ask you this question. One of the Fran Lozano was your chief financial officer, spoke to the Propeller Club in February, and he referenced some of these issues and concerns. And one of the things that he said was that he was concerned about the basics, things like showing up on time, being punctual, being prepared when you go into a meeting. And clearly, Neil, there was a real challenge during the last couple of years of COVID. But now that we're past that, how do we get back to the standards, and why is it that we were referenced as being, we as in CMA, and others were not? Are we not doing enough, or what are the distractions of the last couple of years that Kate referenced part of the problem? Does either of you want to answer that?
I can build on that a bit. So
sure,
Neil,
then after Ryan, I'll add to it as well.
Okay. So Neil made a really big point that COVID impacted the educational system to a severe degree, and Cal Maritime is no exception, given that the vast majority of our cadets who were not in a licensed track program did not remain on campus. So otherwise, there was no enforcement of the grooming standards. So when we all came back and convened here on campus, my freshman year, there was a significant lack of discipline among what we'd call the old guard, so to speak, the seniors. So that culture was never brought up in my class and the ones following it. So there's just been a big cultural decline along with the issues we've been facing. So we mentioned the LA Times article multiple times, along with the recent article that President Dumont was featured in for the SF Chronicle. So there's just been a lot of cultural subversion here. And in addition to that, people are questioning the value of the program, the Corps of Cadets, just asking, the questions, particularly those in the non-licensed programs, which is hence why we did the opt-in, or some of the underlying logic, why they have to wear uniforms, why they need to wear uniforms, adhere to grooming standards, attend formation, stand watch, even if they're not in a shipboard major. So with that said, Neil, looks like you had something to add on.
Right. That's the big question, Stas. How do we get things back to where they were pre-pandemic? And that's what people are asking across all of academia. For example, high school attendance is now viewed by many as sort of like an optional thing, and you're seeing students aren't showing up to class as much, and then that comes into the parents not making their kids go to school. Oh, we're going to go on holiday even though it's the middle of a school semester and the kid can miss school. It's not a big deal, right? So you're seeing this sort of shift that's societal wide, and everybody is wondering how we can get things back to pre-pandemic. I do believe that we need to work best within the limited resources that we have at our disposal. So by removing business, ISS, and I think oceanography as well from the core component, the school is then able to focus their attention and resources on having a robust and rigorous and disciplined core.
Okay. Now, Ryan, do you agree with that?
I have a bit of a divergent opinion from you, Neil. I fully believe, I'm not the president at Days, and I'll keep this from going into a full debate. We do have to adhere to an itinerary, but I fully believe in the Corps Cadets as a regimental program for everyone who's an undergraduate student here at Cal Maritime. I think that irrespective of if you're going into a ship or not, you will fundamentally in your career have to know how to lead and how to manage people. And in a generation, ours particularly, that lacks discipline, accountability, wears whatever they want, shows up whatever they want, talks however they want, having that fundamental basis of discipline in wearing a uniform, in shaving, in keeping yourself clean, personal hygiene, accountability, standing watch formation is absolutely vital. And that's what's always made Cal Maritime graduates stand out from our state counterparts and put us on par with the other maritime academies, service academies, and other schools that, propagate a Corps of Cadets. That being said, I think literally the biggest change we can do to the Corps of Cadets to fix it is just that grassroots accountability. Just when someone makes an error or their uniform's out of regulations or they don't adhere to the grooming standards, you correct them then and there. And that's just a top-down system. And how you propagate a culture like that is, again, just peer-to-peer corrections and just getting some inertia going from the bottom all the way to the top. I literally think it's as simple as that. You can push all the legislature policies all you want, but if your officers, such as myself, aren't making those corrections, then nothing will ever change. But that's just my 2 cents.
Okay. Neil, I'm going to let you. I want to let Neil come in, and then I'll open this one up. Neil, did you want to respond to that?
Sure. So shaving started off in warfare to make it so that men didn't have beards that could be pulled in a fight. It developed into a concept of discipline later on. Same with having your hands in your pockets, which the Navy just did away with recently. So certain things are like, oh, this is what discipline means, but does someone with a beard, are they necessarily undisciplined? I don't think so. So while I do believe that everyone needs, I believe in leaders at every level as a model, and that's one of the things that the U.S. military is doing in response to the lessons learned from the Ukraine-Russia conflict, the breakdown in leadership. So I agree with pretty much everything Ryan just said. I don't disagree. I'm sort of just adding on to some of what he said.
Okay. Brandon, you wanted to come in here.
Yes, I would like to put in my thoughts. I think the reason why Cal Maritime is so unique, it's not as, as hard pressed as like West Point or whatever. I think Cal Maritime is unique because it's at times able to speak up and be independent of itself. And sure, it may be a little bit rebellious, but it does stir up. That's what being in college is all about. I've actually visited places like UC Davis, Berkeley, and they're always on the mic. I think it's a great way to just kind of expand your mind a little bit. Sure, you have a little bit of attention to detail, putting on the uniform, how to eat, how to dress. I think attention to detail comes a long way. But the beauty about college is that you make connections with people. You have different perspectives and conversation. Although you may not agree with them at least you can, listen. And what's beautiful about Cal Maritime, yes, it is an academy, but it is also a place for you to just kind of be a little bit curious with how you want to open up your mind. Like, I'll be honest, when I was at Cal Maritime, I would social engineer my way. Oh, and this is another cybersecurity term, by the way, social engineer my way into pulling all the resources. I would use a camera, for instance, to take pictures for the sports team just to get out of line at 6 a.m. in the morning. I'll be like, hey, you want to get a hookup to be on social media? I'll do it that way. And listen, in the cybersecurity world, there is white hats, black hats, and gray hats. Sometimes you have to be able to, yes, defend, but you also have to be willing to attack. And these are the kind of mindsets that can make you a very powerful person, to understand when to play within the rules and when to break them. Because when you're facing off someone like a nation state, you're not always going to be playing with the rules. And so Cal Maritime does, I just feel like it's just funny. Maybe I'm just blurring out, but I feel like college that's what it's all about.
Okay. I'm going to open this up, this part of this discussion, to some of the employers that we've got here to get a little bit of feedback. And Captain Fotu, do you want to address this issue of discipline and how that impacts coming into the industry?
First of all, I really enjoyed this presentation. That seems like all the cadets speak very clearly. It seemed to me like they got their stuff together, and they studied and they're well prepared. When I was at CMA, it was in that time when we had to dress up with uniform and listen to everybody talking. I came from a small country, actually a small island in the Pacific. Migrated to the U.S. So when I went there, I felt out of place because it seemed to me like I was the only minority of the minority at the school. So I didn't have anybody to hang out with. So I just, but I wasn't a small guy, I was a big guy. So I was just attracted to everybody. So I didn't have any issue getting along with people. I was also a transfer student, and at that time, the transfer student was kind of looked at differently than everybody else that came through the school. But I guess we just grew out of it. The attention to details that helped me a lot, just because it helped me as I grew up in life, at work and at home. So I think having uniform and having the discipline at the school, I think is very important. But at the same time, times changes. We need the enrollment. As I think Brandon pointed out, we're not there to go to school just to be all, clean cut and all this stuff. We're also there to, make friends and grow and just to be a better person. I guess to grow your contacts as you go on. So to explore your mind, to speak your mind freely. At the time we were there wasn't any social media. There's some stuff that happened when I was there, and I'm glad that social media wasn't available at the time.
Okay.
But yeah, I think CMA is putting out a lot of good students, so keep it up.
Thank you. I see Nick Marone has his camera on. And Nick, I don't think you got a chance to introduce yourself, but I do think you have an opinion about this issue. So Nick Marone is Vice President with the Seafarers International Union. He is on the board of the Propeller Club of Northern California. Nick, what do you think about some of the things that we've been hearing about standards? And I know that within the union, you've been having challenges finding sufficient mariners for the slots that are available.
Yes, thank you, Stas, and good morning, everybody. And to the Cal Maritime presenters, you did a wonderful job. You're very clear, you're very confident, and you're very honest. I would like to just chime in a little bit about the requirement of regimentation when you go to the schools. All the maritime schools require this. If you can't get along with your people on a 60-acre facility, you're not going to get along when you're on board a 900-foot vessel that's 100 feet wide, and you got a 10 by 10 room that you're living in, and you're bumping into everybody every day in confined quarters. So a lot of that has to be presented to you early on. A lot of you were just coming from your homes. You're leaving the house for the first time. Some of you maybe had a couple of years in college before you decided to go to Cal Maritime. But on board the ship, it is a very confined environment. There is a hierarchy on board the ship. There's a hierarchy in board companies with presidents and vice presidents and assistant VPs and heads of departments. And there has to be some understanding of appreciation and respect for those people in those positions. More importantly, I think it's good for all of us to go through this process of regimentation and requirements that you're not used to. It does help you grow, and it does help you mature at a very fast rate. It also helps you to be a good people reader when you're in these confined environments, seeing somebody every day, knowing their habits, understanding what buttons can get them angry or what buttons can make them happy. These are wonderful traits that you can carry on well into your senior years. The one question I do want to ask, though, and Stas hit my concern right on the head, I don't hear anybody here from a Cal Maritime Academy wanting to go to sea. What is your concerns about doing a little time at sea? Everybody is going off in a business direction, and which is great. I mean, all of those ancillary support mechanisms for our industry are required: logistics, cybersecurity, everything in those lines, port operations. These are critical. The ships can't do what they do if they don't have these assets supporting them. But I'd like to hear from these students what your hesitation is on not wanting to go to sea, at least for a short period.
Kate, how about you answering that one?
Oh, okay. So, well, I think Jack, who I'm not sure if he's still on the call, would probably be the best to speak on this because he is our one licensed representative. I guess what I can touch on about that is something different about Cal Maritime compared to some of our sister academies, where you can get a license while majoring in something like business or like my major, which is based in security and strategy. But Cal Maritime hasn't offered that since its time of becoming a CSU. I think somewhere in the early 2000s, around 2005-ish. And so personally, that's not a career path that I'm necessarily interested in. But that's just based on the fact that I really enjoy my international strategy and security. If any of the other cadets want to touch on this, because I understand y'all both have your different paths, that'd be great.
Okay, Dennis, I'll let the cadets speak in a second, but Dennis, come on in here.
Yeah. Real quick, Nick, good question. This is something that I ask. I mentor up at school a lot, and this is something I ask the students who are not getting licensed. If you're going there for a license, you know what you want to do, or you think you know what you want to do. If you're going to get one of the other two non-licensed engineering degrees, mechanical or facilities engineering, you know what you want to do. The question that I'm going to throw out to you, Kate, and if you're going there for a non-licensed degree, what was your motivation for that? And this is the kind of, I'll answer some of that. Is it was close to home. It was something we can afford. I have an interest in the maritime industry, oceanography, and again, something the school doesn't push, but should, because a lot of non-licensed graduates go into marine insurance. So to throw it back, for those non-licensed, what brought you there?
Yeah, so that's a question I've gotten definitely from friends, family back home, as well as just people here as a whole. Like, why go through formation? Why go through uniforms if you are essentially getting what some might consider a political science degree? I came to Cal Maritime in particular because of the nicheness of the degree. The international strategy and security was really interesting to me. I'm from Southern California, so it was nice to stay in state, but really the main thing that brought me here was the leadership and the structure. I'm interested in pursuing like a government job in the future, and I think just something as simple as the Corps of Cadets, improving that I've shown up to formation, following these standards, completely sets me apart from someone considering or pursuing another similar degree like political science at another CSU.
Great. Neil, do you want to come in here?
Oh, yeah. So I applied to work aboard the Golden Bear over the summer, and they ultimately hired someone else. I thought that would be so cool to work aboard a ship, even though I'm a business major, just to go and see what that's like. So yeah, I'd love to. And I was even contemplating potentially at some point maybe working for as a supply officer for a time. It's not what I'm interested in doing for my career. However, there's many good reasons to go to Cal Maritime. One of mine was that it seemed like an alternative, unique educational experience that you really can't get anywhere else. Also, I have a background in the Navy, and so the maritime aspect kind of goes along with some of my prior experience. And then when an employer is looking at resumes and they go, Cal Maritime Academy, huh, that's interesting, you know? And so it might catch their attention and get an interview. And then lastly, it's a good school and it's very affordable. So there are many reasons to go to Cal Maritime, even for those that aren't necessarily interested in working aboard a ship.
Very good. Thank you. Ryan?
Same question, I suppose.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, no, my answer is really straightforward, though. I came here for my military commission. We have, through the Strategic Sealift Midshipman program, along with just all the other service programs as a state maritime academy, we have opportunities to commission. It was the easiest way for me to earn my commission as a Marine Corps officer, and the benefit of going through Maritime Academy that I can either accept that active duty or I can go reserves and then go into a maritime career field, like say marine insurance, port and terminal operations, commercial logistics. So I'm still debating which avenue of those I want to take, but I just came here for my commission at day's end and then learned to love the maritime industry.
Very good. Andrew Wong, are you there? Andrew? Maybe not.
So Stas, not to take over, and I'm going to have to leave here really quickly. I'm going to just leave a little story and this is one I tell up at the academy. Is there was a cadet who graduated, went into the Coast Guard, and this is in the 2000s, and he's a fresh ensign walking down the hall, and he sees the door open to the office he's supposed to go in, and whoever's behind the desk is on the phone. And he's not happy with whoever's on the other end of the phone. And so he walks up, he looks in, and the guy behind the desk is very upset on the phone, knocks on the door, gets waves, and sits down. And he's sitting there in his nice whites, ensign, first job. And he's just thinking, and I get this from him, he's a good friend. He says, all right, what did I get myself into, and who am I working for? And the guy hangs up the phone, says, who are you? He says his name. He says, where are you from? It's like, oh boy, how's this going to go? California Maritime Academy, sir. He says, oh, you know your shit. You're not like those ring knockers from Groton that think they know everything. I could just send you out and you could do your stuff. So that is the cool thing about the California Maritime Academy. They teach leadership, responsibility, and respect. And when somebody, Neil, sees that on your resume, especially at Kings Pointer, somebody from Mass or another academy or out in the industry, that's what they know. They know your leadership, responsibility, and respect, and they can count on you to do what they want you to do in the right way. So with that, Stas, I have to jump. Thank you, everybody, for the presentations, and see you up at school soon.
Okay. We're not finished here. Emily Sinclair, you are at one of our U.S. flag carriers. Is there any kind of a trend that you see at PASHA that you would like to share with us?
Sure, I can definitely I can echo Captain Fotu and Dennis, and the leadership and the professionalism that we see with Cal Maritime Cadets it's wonderful. And when we look at resumes and people coming in and looking at jobs coming from Cal Maritime, there's definitely a leg up. We're like, okay, we know that they can come in, they can do the job, they can jump in. There's not I want to say kind of a ramping up as much. There is an amazing willingness and energy to get in, get the job done. The professionalism and the intellect is really high. So the emotional maturity, there's so many things that we see come together with the Cal Maritime experience. So we love hiring Cal Maritime, and I know you guys all know that. So we want to continue doing that. I know for myself, when I'm looking at possible internship, if there's opportunity to hire Cal Maritime, there's definitely that, okay, I want to bring in more of that experience and share our experience and do everything we can. So just all good things to say about the experience with our Cal Maritime cadets. So
Thank
you guys
you.
are awesome.
Thank you. Matthew, are you still there? Matthew. You've hired.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, you've hired several CMA cadets. Could you speak about some of the issues on the leadership level, and why don't you why didn't you hire somebody from UC Davis as opposed to CMA?
Good question. So in our industry, which is not so dissimilar, I imagine, from some of the more direct maritime industries that are represented here by my colleagues, there is no class that teaches you how to be a financial products broker or a commodity broker. It's a job that is learned on premise through mentorship and training by our employees and managers. It's a relationship business about meeting people in the international business community, cultivating those relationships, and providing services over years or decades. And what we look for in the people we hire are strong senses of personal discipline, because being successful in our industry requires people who do not need their hand held on how to be a productive employee, how to be a disciplined adult, etc. Right? So in addition to the sort of adjacency of our business to the maritime industry, what we're really looking for is the discipline that comes from a lot of the academy-based education, whether that's the national service academies or whether that's the state service academies, which are really the maritime academies. Our experience has been positive. The people we hire have generally had the self-discipline and tool set to integrate quickly into a professional environment. And we've been able to focus on teaching them the commercial intricacies of our business and not having to worry so much about being sort of their parents, so to speak. Which, frankly, when I've hired from other schools, you're getting a 22-year-old kid who is still more interested in partying and I don't know, just still being a kid, like an extended adolescence almost. Whereas the CMA grads and the grads we've hired from places like Kings Point or some of the other state maritime academies, they just come out ready to do their job. There was a lot of discussion about whether the non-licensed majors should participate in the core and whatnot. And I don't have any expertise on this. I'm a UC San Diego graduate, so I'm not going to pretend to have any knowledge or understanding of it. But I can say that, as an employer, those experiences do stand out. So, when I get a pile of resumes and I'm looking at kids from Duke or Cal or University of Texas at Austin or NYU or Harvard, the Cal Maritime kid or the Kings Point kid or the, Mass Maritime kid, they kind of stand out from the rest of the pile because they have an experience that's just unlike the other kids. I mean, I can get a psychology major from every school in the country. I can't get a international business and logistics student from every school in the country. You know what I mean? So that's where I think places like CMA can succeed. I think it might have been Ryan that mentioned it, or sorry, I think it might have been Neil that mentioned it. Just from a parent's perspective, I think the value proposition at CMA and a lot of the other maritime academies is really unmatched. There are very few schools that have the cost of attendance as low and the average graduating wage as high. That ratio is really something that the academy can take a lot of pride in. And for families that are looking for the best return on their investment in education, I think CMA deserves a very, very strong look.
Very good.
So sorry, I rambled and covered a bunch of different topics there, but yeah.
Okay. Veronica, I see you came back on camera. Would you like to say something from the Kings Point standpoint?
I'd like to say it from the Veronica standpoint. First of all, it's nice to see Nick. I've known him for many years. I worked at Maritime Overseas. That'll tell you a lot. It was Overseas Shipholding Group. Hired a lot of California maritime graduates over the years, but I was the director of marine personnel at OSG back in the day. But even at Kings Point, when we get employers, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong camera. When we get employers who call here and say, we're looking for somebody for a shoreside job, we have to tell them, sorry, all our midshipmen are going to sail. But they are looking for somebody who came from a regimental environment. They do appreciate it. It's almost like hiring an Eagle Scout over another student. Like they'll look at what you went through, what you represent, and how you got to graduation. They really do respect students who took on that extra responsibility voluntarily. So just wanted to share that.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Now, I saw Andrew Wong jump in and out here. Andrew, you have had at least one CMA intern that you have admitted to. And you work for Wanhai, which is a Taiwanese container carrier. In terms of cadets, in terms of values, are you seeing a trend in the young people that are coming into the maritime industry?
Yeah, so I had the fortunate experience to meet many of the cadets, and I can say that compared to your average 22-year-old coming out of college, they're much more mature, and there's the accountability factor because they've been held accountable for so many years while at school. Ryan and I have spoken. Hey, we will be hiring in our Scottsdale headquarters, and I have keeping tabs on some of the cadets that I know and when they're graduating. So to have these conversations whenever they're ready to go. I mean, I can try and formalize this through the school, but for my personal experience, I have nothing but praise for the cadets I've met, and any company hiring them would be lucky. Now, with regards to requirements being at sea, et cetera, that's kind of beyond me. But I'm happy to speak to and or consider any of the cadets as long as they're willing to move to Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Nick, I want to come back with one more from you about the challenges that you're facing in high schools, getting younger people interested in the industry. And I know that SIU has its Piney Point facility that you've been very active on, and you have related that it has gotten a lot tougher to get people interested in the industry. Are we going to be able to, and I know the Coast Guard is having issues, and we have enrollment issues at CMA and within the maritime industry with some of the other schools as well. What can you talk a little bit about the challenges, and are we going to be able to get the people that we need to sail our ships?
That's a great question, Stas. The challenges are rooted early on, you know, through grade school and college and through your parents at home. Everybody's pushing you to go to college, to get an education so that you can get a good job when you graduate. And this is the mindset of young people that are still in high school, trying to figure out how and what and where they want to go, for who they think they're going to be when they complete college. There's not enough education at that level to teach them about not only the maritime trades, but a lot of the other trades, construction trades and electricians and these kind of blue collar jobs that are very good jobs. You can have a nice middle income lifestyle with all the important things, but young people don't think that far out. They think that first of all, they just want to get out of their house and start making their own money and working on being independent and trying to find their way. A lot of them stumble along the way. They decide to go to college for psychiatry, and after 2 years, they decide they want to be a teacher, and after 6 years, they got a degree and can't get a job. Some of the things that I think the younger generation needs to understand, that diploma doesn't guarantee you a job. It guarantees you an entryway. You might want to start in as an assistant vice president, but you have no skill sets. You have no experience. You haven't worked in the environment, and they're looking to start off at a middle level and not willing to take on an entry level position in hopes to work their way up. So, in short, I believe our challenges are that the mindset is that continuing education is the only way to get ahead in life. And here we come at the last minute during a career fair in their senior year, and we'll catch a few that haven't decided what they want to do, or college is not affordable for them at this time, or they don't have the academic wherewithal to get into college courses. We can grab some of those. I'm going to give you a quick story. This happened to me back in the 80s, and I know my Cal Maritime juniors, you weren't even born back then, but I was a seafarer and wanted to get married. My wife-to-be was pregnant with our first child, and I knew I wanted to come ashore. I wanted to try to come ashore to be there at starting my family. So I saw an ad for American President Lines. No, this is actually what happened. We were in baby classes, doing Lamaze classes, and I got next to this person. Hi, my name's Nick Maroney. What do you do? I said, I'm a merchant seaman. His eyes widened up. I said, well, what do you do? He goes, well, I'm a district manager for American President Lines. I am a marketing representative and sell import and export space to importers and exporters in Missouri and Kansas. So we got on to talking, and he says later on, I'm looking for a sales rep. I said, wow. I said, I'd love the opportunity. If I could have a shot, it would be great. So I had a resume. I put it out there. Had most of my merchant marine experience, AB, traveled all over the world. I had a good structure. I was regimentated because of the trainings from our school, regimentated because of the discipline requirements on board the ship. Down came the district manager for the interview, and he said, Nick, we got about 10 candidates. You have no college at all? I said, no, I'm sorry, I don't. I said, I come from the School of Hard Knocks. But I said, I'm not shy. I'm very good with people. You can count on me. I'll be here on time. I'll work as hard as I can for you. And I sold myself on my character. I had to go up against college grads. I had a third interview with a guy who was an area VP, and I got the job. I got the job because of my I believe it was my confidence and how I portrayed myself, the discipline that I displayed, and the understanding of a ship. And it worked great. When I went to call on customers and I told them my history of merchant seaman, and I would embellish, of course, and say, "Oh yeah, I've seen your container on my ship." We went, and I was really able to relate to the traffic manager at the importer exporter, because they're sitting in Kansas City. They've never seen a ship. They haven't even been to the port. They're doing everything on the phone. So, gotcha. That experience really bode well for me.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ryan, any last words?
Just wanted to thank everyone who's attended and those who spoke. This has been fantastic. Hope to hold another one of these in the future, hopefully with some more panelists. But yeah, this was very informative. Glad we had some good discussion and hope everyone learned something.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. I applaud you guys. I really do. And gals, everybody. I know. See, if I'm from New York, so you guys is all encompassing.
That's okay.
All encompassing.
I want to thank you all as well, Ryan, for organizing this. Kate, Neil, Andrew, Brandon. This has been, and Jack is gone, I think. Thank you all very much for this. It gives us an opportunity to talk about positive things that the California Maritime Academy is doing, creating a future in the maritime industry where there is a lot of opportunity. And I really appreciated, Emily, your comments coming from Paisha about how CMA cadets have impacted you in a positive way. And this gives us a positive image and a positive story that we should be going out and telling about CMA. And also, as Nick alluded to, making that impact to high schools where people are looking to go from high school to college. So that gets us to hopefully a better place further down the line. The Propeller Club is having its Maritime Day presentations late this year because I'm scheduled to be in Tacoma for the AgTC conference. So it's Tuesday, May 28th. We'll have Paisha. We'll have National Shipping. We will have Mr. Nick Marone speaking on behalf of the seafarers. The Port of Redwood City is going to be presenting, the Port of Oakland, the Port of San Francisco, and I may even rope in the the San Francisco Bar Pilots. Ann McIntyre is a CMA graduate. She will be presenting. So we've got that going on May 28th. I want to thank you all for your efforts. We need to get our industry out front more. We have important work to do. Offshore wind is going to have a revolutionary impact on the industry. There's just many, many challenges logistically out there that we need to address. And one last thing I'm going to address, which is on the next side. If we have conflict in the Pacific, we are going to need military sealift support, and we do not yet have enough of that. So on that note, I want to thank you all again very much. Veronica, thank you very much for coming from Kings Point and giving us your input. Marianne we did not hear from Marianne, but thank you, Marianne. And also, Joel, if you're still there, I want to appreciate you coming on board and being with us today.
Thanks very much, Stas. It was very good presentations. I really enjoyed hearing it.
Thank you very much. And so on behalf of the Propeller Club of Northern California, thank you all very much. Hope to see some of you on the 28th. For those of you that are graduating, our best wishes. Brandon, thank you very much for being a resource here. You're really a great resource, and we are doing more on cybersecurity, so we may want you back. You guys all take care, be well, be safe, and be good. Thank you.
Thank you, Stas. Take care.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Stas.
Thank you.